Alright, back to work as they say. Yeah, this would have been Stickam time, so I guess I'll do the Thunderfoot video. Yeah, this ought to get me feeling a little better. Really hilarious. I mean, this is just so bad. I mean, I didn't think he could do a worse job than he did in the first one, but this is just worse. This Ray Comfort guy just owns him all over the place. It's just hilarious. So let's watch it together. It'll be fun. It's something we can do together.
And it was in our little studio, but we're in our big studio today with the nice blue roof, the good lighting and the great air conditioning, and
I'm not so sure about that in LA actually. In LA, yeah. Well, whatever, it's good.
Yeah, there's no humidity. And it was a little tense because we didn't know each other.
God, this guy is so spooky. It's like spooky interviewing creepy. Yeah, it's fun.
Then it was in a studio, but this is far more relaxed tonight. And you're in LA, and the subject you chose is morality. Now, let me just establish something. Are you an atheist? Last time I asked you that question, there was a little bit of hesitation, like you were kind of lukewarm or something.
Yeah, I mean, I've never been a great fan of the term because it's describing what you're not, what.
yeah, it's describing. Yeah, it's too descriptive, is what it is, right? It's just too descriptive, like not theist. Yeah, no, that's too descriptive. We don't want to do that.
And so, I would probably go for the term rationalist, but.
Yeah, what? No. Come on, rationalist, beauty in the universe, rational beauty. Beauty's a rational term. Oh, please, come on, please.
People know what you mean when you say I'm an atheist. So, to all intents and purposes, yes, I'm an atheist. But I would.
But I revere the fuck out of the DNA molecule. I sleep with it at night. I pet it. I tell it little stories about how it's going to grow up to do something spectacular, like invent triple cheese. Yeah, triple cheese. 4-dimensional cheese.
A rationalist or something like that.
Okay, as an atheist, how do you govern your own morality? How do you choose your moral standard?
Well, I mean, there are various levels to it. So, for instance, if someone were to ask you, how do you choose what gas you breathe to live? You obviously have very little choice over this. In fact, almost no choice. You need a certain degree of oxygen to live. Now, you do have some control over these things, the rates that you breathe and so forth.
Oh, this is a brilliant answer.
Some of it is innate,
right?
and
I mean,
some of it...
Yeah, he just keeps going on and on. What the fuck? It's a simple question, asshole. Oh, yeah, we can control how much we breathe, but it's about how much you perspire when you're breathing and how much you respirate. Well, you could give carbon monoxide and that. Well, that would be not like a morality thing. That would be more like a... Oh, please. Just answer the fucking question.
You have a degree of choice over.
So you say innate, that means you go by your conscience?
Innate means that it is programmed into you.
Conscience.
Right, so innate, he's saying. So we have an innate morality. So he thinks the DNA has morality. So whatever the DNA says goes. I mean, this is just so fail as a concept. I mean, you really have to do better than that. We have learned something. We're a little smarter than DNA molecules, and our moral standards can be a little higher. Oh, God damn it. This is brilliant. PhD, and he's taking his marching, his ethical marching orders from a DNA molecule. What would the DNA say? Yeah, we really do have to make bumper stickers. We really do. What would the DNA say?
If you want to call it conscience, yes.
You know what the word conscience means?
It means that thing like where, you know, the lion gets into a fight with the other lion for control over the pride, and he's gotten so pissed off that he just says, fuck all these little kids, I hate these little fucking brats, and he eats all the little cubs and shit. Yeah, that's, yeah, that's the DNA talking. Yeah. Kill a man's husband and eat his kids.
Isn't the word con in science, which means with knowledge.
So we all have an inbuilt knowledge of right and wrong. So would you say murder...
Right and wrong is where it gets fuzzy. I mean, I would describe right...
yeah, fuzzy. So yeah, that's just too complicated a concept. This idea of good and bad. are right and wrong? No, can't be. Not possible.
Wrong is there is what is beneficial for the individual and what is beneficial for the society.
Oh,
That's
and
how
those are
you
the
go.
only two considerations. Well, you've got the long term versus the short term. Yeah, so that's the other one. You've got the other third one. Oh, this is horrible.
And whether it's something's right or wrong, is murder wrong?
Murder is a very, very easy one because for the large part that's programmed.
Telephone. Okay. Alright, another brief interruption, I think. Yep, I decided, yep, it's going to be an interruption. Yeah, I really don't have much. Just kind of a pleasant evening. Thought I would interrupt something somewhere at some moment or time. Just because I was here and in the mood to interrupt something. And there was nothing here to interrupt. So I thought I would project the interruption into some other location. That's usually how interruptions work anyway. So, yeah, not much to report. Yeah, should have made a video, but just too tired. And, yeah, I think that's about it. So instead of making a video, I'll just make this interruption and interrupt it somewhere. These walnuts are falling already. Shouldn't be falling yet. But they're walnuts, but you know, they're inside these cases and they're really a bitch to get out of there. So, yeah, too much work for too little prize. But anyway, yeah, that's all I really have. So back to whatever it was I was talking about and such. Whoops, back to work, sorry. Yeah, it happens. Yeah, shit happens.
Into virtually every social species. So you cannot have a society where you kill more than one person before reproduction age, otherwise the species is extinct. You can't do it.
Oh, whatever. I mean, this again is just so stupid. Social species. So yeah, well, lots of these insects figure out how to dispose of everybody in the hive eventually, right? I mean, bees, all of them are disposable. I mean, all of them, they're you do this for 4 days, you do this for 5 days, you do this for 6 days, and then you're part of the go kill yourself army. You're a kamikaze until you're dead. And that's what your DNA theory bullshit, that's the kind of morality it comes up with. Create slave classes, create preposterously nonsensical hierarchies based on complete bullshit. So yeah, if that's the best atheists can come up with for their morality, is yeah, let's do as the bees do, you're gonna fail.
It's but for instance, let's take something a little more fuzzy. Theft.
Well, let's stay with murder for a minute because I want to talk about Nazi Germany.
Cool.
Hitler did. He got 13 million. He was voted in 13 million. Oh boy. We're doing an interview, sir. I'm sorry. So if you could ask someone else, it'd be great. I don't know where the courts are. Thank you.
You think Thunderf00t could have at least cut this part out? Save us a little bit of time.
Goodness me.
We'll cut that bit. We'll agree to cut that bit out.
No, I think it's pretty appropriate. He's asking where the courts are when we're talking about right and wrong and murder. So Hitler had 13 million votes. What he did was legal in Germany. So was mass murder wrong in Germany?
Well, I mean, this is where it comes down to this very tough decision of what is beneficial for society. And what is
see, I mean, this is just so stupid. What is beneficial for society? You mean what a majority? What's best for the majority? And fuck the minorities? That's your definition of ethics? That's your understanding of value? You can't do better than that? You couldn't even say the word constitution? I mean, really? Pretty bad. Bad form, Thunderf00t.
beneficial for the individuals. I mean, let me just say, for instance, what Hitler did couldn't have been enabled without science. It was the implementation of science in the form of technology that enabled him to do what he did. But So now, if I were to give you the choice,
Oh, well, that doesn't even really make sense, okay? Well, obviously it was industry, okay? And that's always going to be a relative position, whether you got suits of armor and you come up with longbow arrows to defeat the suit of armor or this. I mean, that chain is always going to exist. So it was the industry of Germany. So even if they had lesser weapons and lesser technology, they still would have had the advantage of being at the cutting edge of whatever technology existed. So it's even stupid to blame science.
say, for instance, let's include all of World War II as the burden and the responsibility of science. So that's 50 million dead, 12 in the genocide. And then you weigh that off against how many have been fed by science. I'm just going to give the Haber process, which produces the fertilizer that feeds about 1 in 3 people on the planet. So on one side you've got the cost, which is it'll kill.
Well, that's not even accurate. So I mean, so this is even bullshit statistical manipulation of science. The Haber process does not feed that many people. It increases yield. Okay, this is true, but there'd still be food without it. Okay, it would just be more expensive food. All right. And the second point that can be made is this Haber process is also allowed for stupid overpopulation, which sets us up for complete disaster, because now we're spending a ton of fertilizer, a ton of fuel is going into fertilizing crops to create food, to overpopulate the planet, and yet you have peak oil, which is going to make you run out of Haberability. You're going to lose your Haber process when you lose your fucking cheap energy.
50 million people, and on the other side you've got the payoff, which it'll save 2 billion.
No, it won't, because you've got 50 million in your workforce. You've got 50 million scientists, people who can be scientists and inventive people. Someone could have invented a food to feed the whole of humanity, but they've been killed off.
But this cuts the moral question.
No, well, that's even a stupid argument, though, too, because one of those 50 million could have been Adolf too. We could have had another Hitler. So yeah, maybe one of those fuckers killed in the war would have been Hitler too. But yeah, it's just a stupid question. Yeah, you know, I mean, these are not. It's not that it's a stupid. It's well, anyway. Let him finish.
Question: how do you know what is right and what isn't?
I know what's right and wrong because I've got moral absolutes.
Okay, in which case, tell me which was the right decision. I give you the power to either save 50 million or save 2 billion. If you save the 2 billion, you're going to kill 50 million people.
Well, that's just a false. That's just totally false. I mean, it's not either or. In the first place, and you know, and certainly you can. I mean, you could certainly still have the technology without the war. So that part of the thought experiment doesn't even work. And even if it were true that there was some sort of correlation between the two, who are you to choose which 50 million pay the price for the 2 billion? I mean, why should you decide? That's bullshit. So yeah, in either way, it doesn't work out. If it's going to cost 50 million people suffering in concentration camps to have your stupid, silly 2 trillion people, you can't justify those 2 trillion. 2 billion.
So, if I give you the opportunity to not discover the science of, say, for instance, in this case, nitrogen, it's the same science that creates the weapons that also feeds the people. Right? If I give you the choice
also enables the terrorist. And yeah, this is a whole big problem that you scientists aren't facing, is that we are increasing in our technology, and with that increase in technology, the risk of accident or abuse of technology increases. And you don't have an answer for that either. And yet you just keep marching ahead like you have a resolution, and you have no resolution. You have no blueprint for the future that makes it at all, that gives realistically any realistic hope that you will survive abuses of technology. There's just absolutely nothing. There's no theoretical language that makes it possible to calculate how the future could possibly exist in high technology without humans abusing the technology. It's all fail. I mean, people cannot wear nuclear wristwatches. We know that isn't going to work.
Choice now. if you decide to discover that science, it'll kill 50 million people, but it'll save 2 billion. And on the other side, you can choose to not discover it. You will save those 50 million, but 2 billion will starve to death. What's the moral choice?
You can't make a choice like that because it's so nebulous. It's just a little...
For the sake of argument, it is a clear choice.
Well, you never kill.
Yes. You are never directly... You never kill any of these people. Hitler never killed anyone. Right? He implemented methods that did. But, I mean, let's distill this down to the very core of the moral decision. And that's the costs for the individual and the costs for society. So...
So this is the part where you should have brought up the idea of a constitution and the idea that one man's liberty ends where another man's liberty begins. That kind of thing. You should have brought up that kind of ethical concept, which would have sounded a little bit like the Golden Rule, and you would have had to concede that, yeah, the Golden Rule was kind of smart.
So it comes back to money and power?
Not money and power. It comes down to who benefits, what are the costs, and what are the benefits.
So what's the ever society that instigates rape because it's a great benefit to men? It's great benefit. Then is that okay?
If in the hypothetical situation, you can make up things like that. In our society, it is deemed immoral.
so that's the best he could do.
It's deemed immoral because
that's the best he could do. It's deemed immoral. He couldn't say outright that would be a preposterous abuse of power and selfishness, or whatever the right term would be. Individual gain over ethical responsibility. That it would be an act of it would be too irresponsible to validate that kind of behavior, so it would have to be unethical. I mean, he couldn't come up with any kind of language to say, no, you couldn't justify stealing the welfare of one individual for your own personal gain.
Think about it.
I think it's wrong.
You think it's wrong?
Yeah. But if I were to give you the same extrapolation, that if you don't have euthanasia, if you don't euthanize 50 million people...
Oh, so he thinks euthanasia is wrong. We'll have to go back and see that, because that's totally fucked up.
If I were to give you the same extrapolation...
There we go. Sorry.
And what are the benefits?
So what's the ever society that instigates rape because it's a great benefit to men? It's great benefit. Then is that okay?
If in the hypothetical situation, you can make up things like that. In our society, it is deemed immoral.
What about euthanasia?
Again, it's deemed immoral because...
What do you think about it?
I think it's wrong.
Okay, here we go. So he just said euthanasia is wrong. Now, he didn't force this guy to qualify voluntary euthanasia versus involuntary euthanasia. But even so, where have we an example of euthanasia, which is almost entirely associated with mercy killings? You don't call genocide euthanasia. That would be idiotic. Euthanasia is never used for a malicious or selfish purpose and still called euthanasia. So he's basically against people having the right to die, a right to contract and say in a will, for example, that I would like to die a certain way. If I'm incapable of making the decision, I would like you to please suicide me. He's against that because it's somehow a taboo. What's the atheist rule against somebody having the right to self-determination regarding how and when they die? Yeah, I have to explain that one, please. Where's the DNA say we are obligated to live past our desire?
Yeah, but if I were to give you the same extrapolation, that if you don't have euthanasia, if you don't euthanize 50 million people, and you know for certain that'll cost 2 billion lives.
So here we go. He's going to associate euthanasia, a concept based on this idea that we should have a right to die, and he's going to associate that with genocide. Thank you, Thunderfoot. That's really super of you. Appreciate it. Very progressive.
Long run, what is the right decision? Are you willing to... And what I'm doing here is there are two parts of your brain that cover interactions with others. There is the logistical side, which is the part that I'm engaging now. Right? This is very cold, and there are many examples like it. The U.S. entry into World War II. America knew that Stalin was a butcher. They didn't know Hitler was at the time. They knew Stalin was a butcher, but they were happy to play along with Stalin because he was going to save American lives. He was going to promote Western ideas. Well, he wasn't, but it would solidify.
Oh, please, can you get any more stupid and inane and distant from the subject here? This is just horrible. You're talking to a lunatic creationist who wants to impose his book of Babel on the mind of other citizens, to tell them they must believe, essentially, that they must invest their life in his babbly, silly book. And this is the best you can do?
Deals, right? And for that, they were willing to play ball with a mass murderer of the level of Hitler. And these are the logistical decisions. It's killing millions to save billions.
Here, I've got a scenario for you.
But then there is the emotional side of things. If I were to ask you, could you actually go up to those and look into the faces of those 50 million and look into their eyes and say, sorry, but you're acceptable loss? Now you're engaging a different part of your brain. And we know this because we actually...
Oh, this is just so stupid. I mean, he's going to talk about what part of your brain you're engaging when he's talking about a philosophical understanding of the maze game. All right, the maze game isn't decided about what part of your brain you're using. You either understand whether we're accomplishing something that can justify the mess we're making, or you can't. But decide, this is just so stupid. Oh yes, these are acceptable losses. Why? Because Thunderfoot says so, or because the majority says so. So they're acceptable losses. As long as there's a majority somewhere saying, yes, they're acceptable losses, that means they're acceptable losses. You don't need any logic. You just need enough hands to be raised. I mean, this is just fucking bullshit.
Well, in MRI machines and ask them these questions, and there's the emotional side that actually makes the decisions with respect to others, and the logistical side. If you ask people logistical questions, saving 50 million or saving 50 billion, it's a simple choice.
Oh, come on. This is like I said, this is like understanding, like either you understand that animals suffer and then you decide not to be a meat eater, or you don't. But I mean, the logic is right there. It doesn't have anything to do with what fucking side of your brain, all this other bullshit. It has to do with either you understand it's right or it's wrong, or you don't understand. I mean, you either live by the golden rule or you don't live by it. You think you're better than everybody else, or you understand you're not better than everybody else. I mean, these are concepts. You either understand the concept or you don't understand the concept. But you don't need no fucking MRI to tell you. Oh.
Right? You ask yourself, is it okay if we harvest that guy for organs? And so we're killing one guy to save 5, and it's interacting with a different portion of your brain.
Let me see if I can get to your brain here. It's 1933. You've got Adolf Hitler in your sights. Do you take him out? You know that you're going to save 12 million.
Again, this is would I do it? Let me answer the question first. I honestly don't know, because it's one of those things.
Oh, man. I mean, this is just so... the right answer is, of course, I'd do it, because there's really... I have no way of knowing that it's exactly the right thing to do, because, yes, there might have been something worse than Hitler. But you know that, this is just too obvious. You know what I mean? It's too probable that, no, Hitler was as bad as it was going to get. It wasn't going to be worse without Hitler. Hitler was pretty fucking bad, and it probably wasn't going to be any worse. And if it was going to be worse, then we probably should be extinct. So hopefully the worst was extinction, because we probably deserve it. Because if we could do worse than Hitler, then we really, really, really double suck. Triple suck. Quadruple suck.
Why would you hesitate? You're going to save 12 million with one movement of your finger.
Really? But if you didn't have that genocide is instrumental in our history. If we didn't have those 12
Yeah, well,
million
you could
dead,
make the same argument for the Black Plague. No, I wouldn't stop the Black Plague because without the Black Plague, we wouldn't have understood sympathy and art, and we would have lost a whole sense of empathy, and it would have fucked us all up, and we would have become superficial and silly, and men would have tits now. Oh, they do.
would we have this? We could have set the groundwork for an even bigger genocide. It was the lesson that we learned.
You don't know that.
Yeah,
You can't justify the murder of 12 million people by saying we've got to let Hitler do it because good's going to come.
No, this is hilarious. I mean, this is a fucking lunatic creationist who think a god is letting all this shit happen, talking about accountability. Like somehow, oh well, you can't let Hitler live. Well, why the fuck did God let him live? I mean, if God let him live, then God must have thought he was purposeful and functional. I mean, isn't that your whole fucking belief system, you Looney Tune? Do you think God wanted Hitler dead? Do you really think so? Before the war? No.
but you don't know the converse is true either.
That's right, but you know that if you take him out, you're going to save 12 million people. You're going to save Jewish mothers and fathers and their children. A terrible death with one movement of your finger. Why would you hesitate? So, okay, you don't know if you'd do it. Let me take you back another 30 years before that.
But would you do it?
I'm not asking the question of myself. I'm asking you for the moment. I'll tell you in a moment.
I'll
It's 30
tell
years
you in
of-
a moment. I mean, couldn't you? Yeah, that's just so lame. But maybe we'll get to it.
Earlier, you've got Adolf Hitler's mother in your sight. She's pregnant with Adolf. Would you take her out?
Okay, so now you're asking, would I kill Adolf and an innocent person? Well, again, seeing as I didn't know for the first one, I think it's fair to say that I'm not sure about. The second one, it's...
It's for the good of the speech.
Yeah, no, I think it's not even that, yeah, it's not that hard. Innocent, that's a tricky word, right? Because, yeah, if you're going to create kids, you're not innocent anymore, all right? You're responsible for what you create. I mean, your kid grows up to be Bundy, you're responsible for it. I mean, you made the fucker. I mean, obviously, that mother did not, pet Adolf the right way, because Adolf turned out to be one motherfucking cunt.
Cease.
It's the cost to the individual. I mean, this is essentially asking the same logistical question of, is it okay if we harvest one guy for organs to save 10 people? Or if we have one...
Well, it's really not, because these aren't innocent parties. Again, these are people who are instrumental to some sort of doom through their actions. Not their inactions, their actions. You're accountable for your aggressive actions.
guy who has the cure for AIDS in his blood, but we can only
So
get
I
it...
can't pin you down on whether or not you would save 12 million people. And because of the fact you think that his killing of the 12 million could, or the 50 million, when you bring everyone who died in the war, could be doing good for society, good for humanity.
I think that it's an impossible question to answer. I mean, on a very simple level, yeah, you kill 50 million people. If you kill him...
Yeah, it's not a simple level. Okay, I mean, really, this is just a probability thing. You know it's a red number. I mean, the probability is that there could be a worse red number, but there's just an equal likelihood that it's going to be a less red number. So there's, you have a guaranteed negative. So I think you would certainly, if you're going to change history, why not? You got a guaranteed negative now. You might as well trade in the guaranteed negative. That's pretty horrible. It's not a little negative, it's a big giant negative. You might as well trade that in on the hope for a smaller negative, okay, or even a positive. But the risk of a bigger negative, again, is like almost irrelevant. Because if a bigger negative is possible, it's really not going to be anything the human race is going to survive. You can't really survive a bigger negative. Could it realistically? Come on.
It's fairly likely that wouldn't happen. 15 million people. It's likely that wouldn't happen. But if you've...
It wouldn't happen. You'd save their lives.
Oh...
Hitler would not be around. One little movement of your finger.
Well...
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, why are you even for anything, Thunderf00t? How could you be for the Haber process? Maybe the Haber process has been incredibly unproductive. and totally destructive to our future. That it basically, if we never invented the Haber process, we wouldn't have overpopulated too quickly, we wouldn't have had World War III, and the human race would have prospered. But because you invented that stupid shit and created all those extra people, you fucked the human race and killed us all. I mean, that's, you know, by your logic, you couldn't make any decision about anything, but you could always come up with some scenario where it's not going to work out. You have to go with what it's likely. And so you're just being pretty fucking lame here not to say that it's likely that it would be a good idea to fucking stick your fork in Adolf's eye.
I mean, the societies are less predictable in that if it wasn't... Germany, after the Depression, was ripe for the sort of thing that Hitler did, right?
He was a savior to Germany.
So, yeah, and he built the autobahns, and he put Germany back on the right track.
Full employment, etc. Yeah, he did a lot of good before he showed his true colours.
And went off the deep end. And in that sense, you know, if it wasn't him...
this is just so fail. I mean, it's like, yeah, well, Hitler wasn't all that bad. Well, he just went a little deep-endy. Yeah, just a little deep-endy. But otherwise, yeah, well, it's going pretty good until he deep-ended.
Just being somebody else. But ultimately, we wouldn't have the attitude. Genocide wouldn't be the dirty word that it is now. That dirt in the word was actually born.
Oh, please. I mean, maybe we would have had a better idea of genocide. Maybe we would have now looked at the American Indian genocide and the South American Indian genocide and had more appreciation for just how insidious it is. But because we got so distracted by the politics of Israel and the politics of this other bullshit that we ignored for 50 years what was right under our nose the whole fucking time.
Lives of the people in the concentration camps.
Well, really be a genocide in the Bible.
Yeah, and if you ask people about genocide in the Bible, you know, no one really cares about it. I mean, genocide wasn't a dirty word in the way that it is since we actually had mechanical genocide, you know, since we saw what would happen when you put the technology that mankind has available to it.
Oh, well, whatever. This is just nonsense, right? I mean, the last genocide in Africa, what, 2 million people dead and most of them killed with a machete? Yeah, I don't think technology has much to do with it.
Systematic extermination of people. I mean, all the time that it's people killing people, there's limits to the numbers that can actually happen. It was the technology that enabled to do it on a mechanical scale that really put this...
again, please, that's just so fucking lame. I mean, they were killed the old-fashioned way.
It did show people what they were like, what they were capable of if the wrong people get into power.
So, let me see if I can pin you down. So, are you saying murder is right or wrong? Are you trying to justify murder?
Well, can you make a distinction between murder and killing someone?
No.
So is killing...
Yeah, well, see, even that is kind of silly, right? I mean, you have to go with intent, right? And whether your intent is superficial or whether your intent is to defend or protect something of greater value. Yeah, something like that. Well, maybe they'll get to that. We'll see.
Someone immoral.
No, if someone's going to rape my wife, he's running at her with a knife to cut her throat, rape her and cut her throat, I would shoot him in the leg and move up slowly.
Yeah.
So there's nothing wrong with protecting yourself. So, back to the question.
But that's not murder then, is it? Because you're not trying to kill somebody, you're just trying to stop them from raping your wife. So that's not murder.
Murder, right or wrong? Can you say it's absolutely wrong to murder someone, or you say it's good, could be good for the good of society?
I would go for exactly the answer that you gave, which is it's contingent. It's contingent on the circumstances.
No, murder is always wrong.
You just said you would kill someone.
Self-defense. Defending my family.
But earlier you said that killing someone...
Well, yeah, and can't all killing be rationalized by some kind of logic like that? You can almost think of somebody doing that. They can just say, well, if I didn't kill them, they were going to beat their wife, and then they were going to do this and that, and then they were going to drink and drive and kill a whole family of 4. So I could basically just rationalize killing anybody on Earth by just saying they were going to, you know, just turn them into a perpetrator of some greater crime.
When it's killing someone,
No, there's a difference between murder and self-defense, defending a family. So I would defend my family, and I kill someone who's going to kill my wife. That's my own conviction. So you're not going to say
But
murder.
aren't you supposed to let Jesus and God take care of that? I mean, doesn't God say to you, creationist, Jesus, freaky people, justice is mine, vengeance is mine, saith the Lord? I mean, isn't that one of those things you're supposed to give to Caesar and then give to God what is God's? Well, isn't that one of the things that's supposed to be God's? I mean, you guys are supposed to be okay with whatever the fuck happens because, yeah, God will clean it up in the end. God will take care of that whipping the murderer for you.
It's right or wrong. You won't say murder is wrong. You know why you won't say it? Because if you say there's absolute morality, then you're in trouble, because I'm going to say, where do you get that from?
Well, it's innate to your... it's...
We'll put up with it.
We'll put up with that. Okay. So, absolute morality.
Yeah, so I'm trying to pin you down on absolute morality. Would you admit there are things that are absolutely wrong?
There are things that will result... There are things that prohibit you in terms of behaviour from having a stable population. For instance, if you kill all of your children at birth.
Yeah, stable population. So that's really all that matters. So again, you could justify almost anything by that standard. If you want stability, you could completely blow up freedom, equity, fairness. These are the concepts of morality. I mean, you really got to be able to say the word fairness there, Thunderfoot. Come on. You really should be. You're a PhD. You should understand that concept. I mean, no, you have to do all this shit within boundaries of responsibility to ethical concepts like fairness.
Obviously, the species can't propagate. So that's why we never see species that kill their babies at birth, or at least all of them.
Some do.
They may eat the odd one, but I mean, again, in many ways, if people did that, would that be morally acceptable?
No, abortion is wrong.
But it's the same fundamental question of if you knew that abortion would save 1 million people in the future, would you abort 1,000 now?
That question's ridiculous.
Not really. You asked me whether I would kill Hitler's mother. It's the same question. It's, how do they say, proactive abortion.
50 million Americans have been aborted since Roe v. Wade. So, no, I would never try and justify abortion. So is rape wrong? Would you put your finger on that and say, yeah, that's wrong? Would you just say, oh, it could be okay for the good of society?
The rape is... what we're doing is we're starting on the things that murder is...
I mean, come on, Thunderfoot. Couldn't you just say, yes, it's wrong? I mean, damn it. That was just so fucking easy, and you couldn't even just say yes to that? I mean, it's just an obvious taking. You can't just say it's wrong to take somebody else's stuff? Oh, fuck.
Absolutely necessary. You can't kill more people than you produce, otherwise you don't have a species.
No, you're talking about expediency. I'm talking about morality.
Well, I mean, but that's a functional... it's a functional morality.
Are you a machine or a human being? Come on, I want your conscience to do some work here.
Are you a machine?
Well, you tell me. Is murder wrong? Is rape wrong?
I can tell you that the reason you're breathing is because you are a machine. Right? The reason you eat...
But I have a soul. I have a life.
Oh, man, this is just so fucking goddamn bad. Oh, shit. Oh, man, the creationist is winning.
Morality, I have a conscience.
But you admit that there are... Or we agree that there are some levels of you that are a machine.
I am a machine, but I've got the life of God in me. I'm a soul. I know right from wrong. I know that rape is wrong. I know that murder is wrong. I'm not afraid to say they're wrong. There's moral absolutes. Is lying wrong?
Lying, we wouldn't have language. We covered this on the last one, I think. We wouldn't have language.
Is stealing wrong?
Stealing is an interesting one. Now you're getting into the interesting stuff, because that's... It's very... Why would God want us to have property? I mean, if you don't have property, the concept that people can own things, then...
Oh, Jesus Christ. I mean, really, you can't even just say something simple that, yes, if somebody has something and they've acquired it honorably, that they're entitled to it and you can't take it. I mean, come on.
How can you have theft? You know, so a lot of these Indian cultures, they don't have this concept of property. You don't have the concept of theft. And...
You mean communism?
No. The small tribal cultures, there is no real point in individuals having things. They belong to the tribe, so to speak. This is a long time before anyone's gotten into organising bigger societies. It's not so much... I guess it's a sort of functional communism, but...
How can we go off on a rabbit trail of Indians when asked if lying is wrong? Come on, is lying wrong?
No, what we're doing...
Stealing is wrong.
But if I were to ask you, is chopping your children's arms off wrong?
Yes.
How did you get that?
I've got an inbuilt knowledge of right and wrong given by God.
Oh, fuck. Yeah, you need an inbuilt knowledge of anything to know you shouldn't chop your kids' arms off? We can't even just say, whoa, 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 the blood comes out and it goes squishy, squishy. Oh, man. Oh, that's funny. Anyway, that was hilarious.
Which I know it's wrong to bring harm to any other human being.
Yeah, oh,
that's not what it says in the Bible.
Harm, yeah, no, that's, it certainly doesn't say that in the Bible. Yeah, you caught him on that one. But that harm word, that's an important one. Yeah, see if they can do anything with that.
When am I told to chop off my kids' arms and legs?
Where are you told? There are 10 commandments in the Bible. The ones that you've hit so far are the ones which are requirements for a stable species. So you don't kill, you can get that out of piranhas.
No, they're not.
Oh,
No.
please. Yeah, the 10 Commandments are totally lame. It's only like 2 of them are have any value at all. The rest of them are all just bullshit. Thou shalt rub God's nutsack from left to right or something. I mean, it's just completely idiotic.
They're a knowledge of right and wrong to show us God's righteousness, so we can see His need of forgiveness. They're not a standard for smooth society.
Why would God care about property? I mean, what interest does God have whether you own anything? You know, the camera, the clothes. Why should God care about property?
Because it's only right if you earn something.
Well, yeah, I mean, it really doesn't make much sense not to say that you know, even animals have, like, you know, their own shell kind of thing. Like a hermit crab goes out and finds a shell and wears it, and it's his shell, you know, and the other guy shouldn't take his shell. And that's bullshit.
It's yours.
But that's a societal thing. There are societies that function perfectly happily. Not big societies, admittedly, but that function perfectly happy without the concept of property. Are those ungodly?
Well, I don't know if you've really demonstrated that, though, Thunderfoot. So that's even that's questionable too. Not that there would be anything that would be property. I mean, I think that's pushing it a little. They would probably have some thing, some garment, some necklace, something that was theirs.
Societies, they seem perfectly happy.
So, is lying and stealing wrong?
Lying is a requirement of language. Right? If you lie to people...
Oh, stop it.
You can't...
How can you build any relationship on lying?
Exactly, right. So, if you're going to interact with others, if you're on your own, there is no one to lie to. It's tautological that if you're going to lie, you must be part of a society. You must be interacting with at least one other person. So, you know, these are...
I mean, that's just so lame. I mean, you can't even just say something like, well, there's some certain circumstances where it's probably the right thing to do not to tell the truth, but in 99% of cases, yes, the right thing to do is to tell the truth, and you should never lie for your own advantage. That would be wrong. Yeah, that would be a good way to put it. It would be wrong to lie when it's to your advantage.
Rules that govern the behaviour within the species, within the society, particularly. Right. So if you actually come down the level, you know, if absolute morality exists, what is the right colour for the wheel?
That's nothing to do with morality.
You said there's an absolute morality. If there's an absolute morality, there must be an absolute right choice for everything. I mean,
okay, let me
start with a very easy one.
Oh, well, this is stupid. Why don't you do a more quantum-y kind of thing there, Thunderfoot, PhD guy? Do the quantum thing. Find the quantum of value. And then you can start building your ethics and your morality. This is just, this top-down thing will not work.
You know, killing, lying, and...
It wasn't that easy for you because you don't know.
No, I mean, for me...
You're like Quicksilver. You know what Quicksilver does? You got to pick it up. It just runs away from you. I want you to make a choice for me.
Well,
look,
Quicksilver is kind of a silly thing to say to Thunderfoot. You probably should have tried to use the real word. Mercury.
1943. A German officer has got a gun pointed at your head. You want you to get into a bulldozer and drive it forward. In front of the bulldozer is a pit. Excuse me. In front of the bulldozer is a pit with 300 Jews in it. They've just been shot. Some of them are still alive. He wants you to bury them alive. If you don't do what he says, he's going to shoot you to death and do it himself. Would you drive the bulldozer forward? And don't say I don't know.
In that case,
I wonder what the creationists would do.
There are people who did this. There are people who.
I wonder, would this little twatty creationist guy not do it? I don't know. And the question is what point would there be not to try to kill the people because they're just suffering? You know, they're not going to unsuffer if you don't kill them. So you might as well bury them because you put them out of their misery.
I know, that's why I'm asking.
There are people who did what they were told, and this goes very much back to how people respond to it.
So what would you do?
If it were me, if I had the brain that I have at present, you know, I'm just teleported instantly back there, I'd give him the finger and tell him to go fuck himself.
Can't say that. Put it another way.
I would give him the finger.
No, you can't say that either. Just say I would say no and I'd die.
Yeah, there are worse things than death. You know.
Yeah, I don't know. I think you're probably better off living another day and trying to steal the bulldozer and then, you know, run over the Nazis with the bulldozer. I mean, you got to come up with some other scenario. But if you know you're going to get shot and just thrown in the pit, what's the fucking point? That would be dumb.
Didn't do it.
No.
Because you value human life?
No, because ultimately, malevolent social structures like the Nazis propagated, for the large part, on complicity. Right?
Did you put that in English for us peasants?
Oh, yeah,
Sorry.
but it wasn't complicity with bulldozing people that are already shot and they're already fucked. So what's the point? You're not that kind of complicity after the fact doesn't the fuck matter. I mean, realistically, right? I mean, what the fuck? How does that complicity help get the bank robbed when if you're the guy after the robbery who, I don't know, washes the car? You wash the getaway car after the robbery. I mean, it's kind of irrelevant. So if somebody puts a gun to your head and says, wash the car after the robbery, you might as well. Because that complicity is irrelevant.
People following orders is what made the Nazis...
So you wouldn't do it to save the Jews, you'd do it because you just don't like the way the Nazis do things.
Well, I mean, if the Nazis weren't killing the Jews, there wouldn't really be any point in the question, you know?
So you value human life at all?
Yeah.
Okay.
Life is kind of pleasant, you know?
Okay, so you value human life. So how do you feel about abortion?
Life is kind of pleasant. That's hilarious. Oh, yeah.
The last time we met, it was in our
And they cut it
studio.
off right on the good question. Damn. So you have to wait till the next time for that one. Maybe I'll just do that answer when the next time. We'll see. I don't. You know, but this interview is pretty bad. So anyway, that was, you know, just getting back into business. So kind of a long video, but you know, you can take it. So till next time and such.